Despite all the Lane Kiffin rumors, look for the Ole Miss Rebels to really be ready to play.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This crossover edition of Locked On Ole Miss and Locked On the Portal. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making each of Locked On Ole Miss and Locked On the Portal a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. We are brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for your opportunity at $20 off your first ticket purchase. We're going to be talking about the predictions for the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss versus Mississippi State from Starkville, who, what, when, where, and why. Key players, which guys are going to step up or be abused in this game. We're also going to talk about the history of the Egg Bowl, how it got started, and all that fun stuff, because it is a wild, detailed rivalry. It's in-state brawls and everything else. But first off, the key, how much will the Lane Kiffin rumor mill impact Ole Miss, Mississippi State, both teams, neither? It's probably going to be on the minds of everybody in that stadium. So let's talk to the guy that knows quite a bit about it, Mr. Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss host. Stephen, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing quite well, considering I'm getting about 3 hours of sleep a night.
There you go. 3 hours is more than I expected. Congratulations.
Yeah.
The latest Lane Kiffin, I'm kind of curious on your Ole Miss history stuff. We talked a little bit off here, but I'm curious about that when we get to it. But prior to that, how much do you think this stuff impacts this particular game? Because every kid's going to be different. Is it something that we can even get a pulse on, or is it just guess and watch the game?
Well, my guys that are watching practice and kind of reporting back to what's going on says that the practices have been pretty good this week. They seem pretty locked in. And I think I interviewed Daquan Wright before the South Carolina game, and he basically describes, like, for the next 30 days, there's no days off. It's all go, all gas, no breaks. You cannot have a bad day. And there's a little bit of a sense of a player-led type stuff. And with all of the noise that's been going on since, heck, Oklahoma was a month ago almost. I mean, that's really when it started. For the players, there might be a little semblance of business as usual, as long as shenanigans aren't happening behind the scenes. But I think they're going to be all right. I think they're going to go, and I think they know that they have a better football team than Mississippi State, despite all of this noise. And this noise is so weird, because if you ask me at noon, I hear one team. If you ask me at 3, it's another. If you ask me at 6, it's the other team. All 3 teams can be the leader in any particular day. And this keeping up with the Kifdashians episode that keeps seemingly going on, it's not just getting old. It's just wearing thin on all 3 fan bases. So we'll be glad Saturday when all of that is over, because I'm going to let everybody know the rumor right now. The rumor that's going around right now that's probably going to keep me up tonight is that if Kiffin wins the Mississippi State game, he's going to stay at Ole Miss. If he loses the game, he's going to go to LSU. And he's like, does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense to do stuff like that. But it's a rumor that you have to take seriously. And that is my world at this point.
I'm not going to try to delve into that. I don't need the psychiatry bills that you're probably going to incur. Mm-hmm. So I'll just let you tell me about it a year or two from now. But with that in mind, Kiffin is a guy that understands the importance of this game. He's been involved with it for a half dozen years. I don't think it's going to bother him, because he's able to lock in. That's what being a professional football coach basically is. And he is the definition of a pro football coach. I'm not talking about NFL, but like just being a coach in general. He likes the X's and O's stuff more than most, which is saying something. And I also think that he knows that Mississippi State's defense is awful. So especially against the run, I don't know what they'll do exactly, but my guess is Kewan Lacy goes for $150, and if it went above that, would it surprise anybody? Probably not. I mean, they are just, they're 120th in the nation in rush defense. I mean, for the love of mankind, that should never happen to an SEC school, but that's where they're at because they're rebuilding. But do you think they'll come out and just run the ball? Or do you think they're going to really just be their own offense and whatever happens, happens, play to play because Kiffin's Kiffin?
For people that play Madden or college football or whatever on the PlayStation, you're going to see Mississippi State, in my opinion, do some version of the Engage 8. You're going to see them play some zero coverage where if you went on the outside, explosive plays in the pass game are going to be there. But they are not going to let Kewan Lacy beat them because that's suicide. And Ole Miss has a better offensive line than Mississippi State's defensive line. Ole Miss has a better defensive line than Mississippi State's offensive line. And you have to figure whenever that scenario breaks out, that the team that has that wins about 95% of the time.
Turnovers are the key. And it's one of the reasons that I think I would stick with the run game quite a bit. Mississippi State's offense isn't bad. And they've got a decent quarterback. They're a team that plays up to the competition for the most part. Obviously suck at finishing games. I think that's the understatement of the year. They should be about 4 games better in their record than they are. But at the same time, you screw around with them, they'll beat you. So in a rivalry game, you certainly don't want to put the ball on the ground or anything like that. But I think Kewan Lacy is going to help the Rebels be in a lot of 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5 scenarios. They're probably going to be in a grinded out, ugly game because I expect them to put 7 and 8 in the box quite a bit. I'm just wondering how much Mississippi State tries to jump out of that base coverage of, we're going to be aggressive and after the snap try to get some picks because they're not going to slow down Ole Miss just by being they got to do everything because they're just not good enough. I know that's not very nice, but I don't think their defense, from seeing them play, they don't have anybody on that defense that I go, man, you got to know where that guy's at. They don't have that player. So they got some good ones, but they don't have some Terry Perkins. They don't have that guy. They got some guys a notch down, and that's fine. But nobody Ole Miss has to scheme around to the extent that Perkins can make you scheme. So
I think this game could be weird, and you're right. I think it's going to be 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, 1st and 10, 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, 1st and 10. And that's going to cause the clock to move. And Mississippi State's going to be on the field for 80 plays, and Ole Miss is going to have 35 and a half to 40 minutes of time of possession, because that's the one thing that Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss's offense does this year that they haven't done in the past. They will play slow if they need to. Against Oklahoma, they had 35 minutes. Against South Carolina, against Florida, they had 38 minutes of time of possession. They're going to play slow, and they're going to wear you out, and this is going to be weird sounding like it's coming from an Ole Miss perspective because they're usually the team that other teams do this to, but they're just going to out-depth Mississippi State to where the play count is going to get to the point where that 2nd and 6 becomes a 2nd and 3. And that happens in the second half, and they can kind of open it up. I expect it to be tight and cagey early, just like an Egg Bowl normally. I expect at the end of the game, Ole Miss is going to pull away.
There you go. Later in the game, I've got Ole Miss winning the game too. I'll talk about my prediction later. But when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the history of the rivalry, why fans get into it so much, and why you think that the state kind of stops. I mean, every state's got a game. But why is this one different? That is going to be next here on this crossover Locked on Ole Miss and Locked on the Portal. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com and sign up and run your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you once again for making Locked on Ole Miss and Locked on the Portal a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please like and subscribe if you have not already and become an everydayer. Stephen, when we talk about rivalries, everybody has their opinion on the best rivalry, but everything's dependent on the denominator. Everybody has a different common denominator, so there's never like an equal apples to apples conversation. Give me your definition of why, for regardless of what teams you root for, the Egg Bowl is one that is very fun, and it is mentally challenging for the entire state because families get into tizzies over it and everything else. Why is it such a heated rivalry?
Mississippi State was created because the people were against Ole Miss. Even before they played sports, Mississippi State was created to be the other side of Ole Miss back in whenever it happened, whenever State was done. Ole Miss is where the doctors and lawyers and all the money in the state was going to at that time. So Mississippi State became the agricultural school, the farm school, the lower middle class school. And that manifested from the very beginning of those two schools getting together and just absolutely hating each other. They started playing football in the early 1900s, and Mississippi State won like the first 17 games or something like that. Ole Miss finally won a game in 1927 or 1926. I forget about which year. And Ole Miss ran on the field to try and tear the goalposts down in Mississippi State. That resulted in a brawl that involved people hitting people with folding chairs and things like that. It was out of hand. It was ugly. It was honestly everything you think the Egg Bowl should be. And that required them, hey, let's create a trophy that we play for, that we can positively inject some of that passion into. So the Egg Bowl started at that point, and Ole Miss has dominated the Egg Bowl series. I think Mississippi State has to win like the next 50 or something like that for the series to break even for the Egg Bowl. But that is the background of the socioeconomic and all of that stuff and how the Egg Bowl got created. Now, Mississippi as a state has been the poorest state in America, give or take, for the better part of this whole time. There's no professional sports in the state. There's nobody paying attention really to the state. And Mississippi is a very prideful state on top of everything. People that live there are proud to be from there. So Ole Miss and Mississippi State annually became the biggest game of the year. It was played in Jackson Veterans Memorial Stadium starting in about 1971. And that went into like 1990 before it moved back on campus. And that game became the stick a pin in it. This is going to be a big deal. And it grew and it grew. And once it got on campus, there was Billy Brewer and Jackie Sherrill, who just hated each other for whatever reason. They did not like each other. And that caused 10 years of that rivalry going up. And then Hugh Freeze and Dan Mullen kind of took the torch from there in the 2000 teens. And it just went through the roof to the point where Mississippi State was okay with burning their own house down as long as Hugh Freeze and the Ole Miss Rebels did not make the run anymore. We can't have them escaping from us. Then Lane Kiffin gets hired. Shortly after, we can't do anything different. Let's go get Mike Leach. It's very much a give and take. I call this the best rivalry in sports. And the reason that people don't know about it is because they choose not to. I call the Iron Bowl the Great Value Egg Bowl. Seriously, it's like we've got Egg Bowl at home. That's what that is. So this game has the obsession of half the state, both sides. It's not an Ole Miss thing. It's not a state thing. It's everything. And because of that, the history of this game and what manifests on the field, I think it was 2018 when the entire team on both sides got an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty in the Egg Bowl. You've had two separate players, get penalized for fake peeing in the end zone. I mean, there's some absolutely ridiculous stuff, and there's been multiple brawls that have happened in this game. I talked to Bill Flowers, who played wide receiver at Ole Miss with Eli Manning. He said the difference in this game and games like the Iron Bowl and the game Michigan-Ohio State is that those games, you respect the opponent. In this Ole Miss Mississippi State game, neither side respects the other, not even a little bit. And because of that, you get annex, you get all of the stuff that we love. And honestly, if we're going to be real, Brian, this game should be on Thanksgiving night because it deserves to be on Thanksgiving night.
Well, I don't get to make that rule, but they don't want to fight with the NFL is my guess. But nonetheless, I get what you're saying. I think that the Egg Bowl is one of the more fun games, and it traditionally has a few moments in it from a play calling standpoint, from a guy that you're like, well, he wasn't that great this year. Why is he having a great game? Like there's always something goofy about it. And it could be a game where one of them's favored by 2 touchdowns over the other, and it's still a 3-point game with 4 minutes to go and somebody's got the ball trying to ice it or trying to go down and kick the tying field goal or win it with a TD. When was the last time that this game wasn't even remotely competitive? When was the last time one team destroyed the other, like 30 points or something like that?
In 2016, Hugh Freeze's last game at Ole Miss, Mississippi State came to Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford and won like 55-20.
Wow. Okay, that's a beatdown for sure.
Yeah, Hugh wasn't planning to go out. He wasn't getting fired. He got fired that next summer for the escort thing.
Oh boy, yeah,
but he got to wear that a little bit. But yeah, that's the last time it's been completely one-sided. Now, Ole Miss has kind of had its way, but it hasn't really been a blowout. In 2008, Ole Miss beat them 45-0 and sacked the quarterback 13 times, and Mississippi State had like 36 total yards for the game. I mean, that was a beatdown. But yeah, so every now and about once every 10 years, a game like that happens.
Indeed. When we come back, we're going to talk about the key players and predictions. Egg Bowl time, Locked on Ole Miss and Locked on the Portal. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. College football and the Egg Bowl have been really exciting this year. Been a lot of unpredictable moments, but that's what makes college football great. The tailgates, the rivalries, all the energy in the stands. There's nothing like college football. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets to the Egg Bowl or anything like it, well, they could be a battle to get those tickets, and more so than the actual battle in the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping out at you at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, where I recently actually got 2 tickets, the app that gives the advantage back to you and me, the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices. No hidden fees. What you see is what you get. I was in and out of Game Time in 5 minutes to get 2 tickets to see my alma mater, Indiana, play basketball. I found the game, found the seats I wanted, checked the seats, and I could see the seat view from my phone and put in my credit card information and checked out in under 5 minutes. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. All right, Stephen. I want to put you on the spot here. Obviously, you're an Ole Miss expert. But give me the 3 players on the other side that you're most worried about that could be a nuisance of some kind or even create an upset if Mississippi State was to win. Give me your 3 players you're most concerned about.
Kamario Taylor, definitely. If he gets his passing going for that, he just has one of those days, that would be scary. Now, normal Kamario Taylor, I'm not necessarily scared of. Brennan Thompson, the wide receiver from Mississippi State, and I can't remember the name, but it's the tight end.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the number 8 or number 9.
Well, I mean, Mississippi State always seems to be able to throw the ball. It's when the other team's throwing the ball that I'm worried about Mississippi State or running it. For those that don't know, Mississippi State this year has the 120th rushing defense in the country, and I'm not exaggerating. So that's a concern for me, is like their run defense is just not where it needs to be. The tight end that you're talking about, Seydou Traore, is that the kid? Yeah. 30 catches this year, 291 yards. He's got 5 TDs. Brennan Thompson's got 47 catches for 868 yards, 18.47 yards a catch. Holy cow, that guy's a dude. I didn't realize he was that good. Congrats to him. Not the biggest guy. He's 5'9", 170, but if you've got 868 yards, you're a player. So, and then the guy that leads them is Anthony Evans. He's got the most receptions with 63. So they're pretty balanced.
Yeah. Apparently, just so everybody knows, since this is going to air on a Wednesday night, potentially, Chris Lowe just apparently went on Sirius XM and said that if Lane Kiffin wins the Egg Bowl, he's staying. He thinks. And which Chris Lowe is Lane Kiffin's guy. You have to take that into account. Whenever news needs to get broken, it's usually Chris Lowe that does it. So you have to think he's fairly well sourced on that.
I wouldn't be surprised at anything Lane Kiffin does. You know why? Because it's Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. Well, I was joking with somebody is like, if he comes back, the good news is I can do this again next year. I mean, it's one of those things like it's going to happen. Okay. Cause it's not like he's going to have an extension where the buyout jumps up to $50 million. It's still going to be a $10 million buyout or something like that.
Yeah. But if he doesn't take LSU or Florida, I don't know where he would go. So
I think that would just leave Bama.
Miami, maybe at some point if Cristobal ever left, but that would probably be way, way down the line.
Yeah. And if he comes back to Ole Miss, if that is, he has several years of image rehabilitation that he is going to have to do. So
yeah, that's an interesting topic. The next time you and I do a show, if he does come back, that's the number one topic. Because like there's gonna be some fans that just aren't gonna like him anymore.
Yeah,
that's my guess. Which to each their own.
He's got some work now. Winning lobotomizes everybody. And that's just the way it is. Winning is the great lobotomizer.
True.
But it's going to be difficult and more transactional right now moving forward after what just happened, after being terrorized essentially for a month. We'll take you back. We like winning. Winning's fun.
I hope he stays personally, but yeah, I get what you're saying. There's still some, shall we say, scar tissue that has been built around. I know Mr. Willis in particular here probably has some because he gets all the phone calls and texts and is like, really? Do I got to answer this too? You know, like some of them you're probably like, I don't even know about this.
Yeah, it's like, this doesn't even sound right. They're sending you tweets from people from Penn State that just happens to be saying, it's like, okay, guys, we're fine. We'll see what's up.
He's not going to Penn State. That would be a terrible fit.
No, that would be awful. He likes blue water a little bit too much for that. And the Atlantic Ocean isn't blue water.
Yeah, it's a little different. As for your keys to the game, any key player for Ole Miss, especially if you've got somebody outside of like, Caden Lee and there's some obvious names, Trinidad Chambliss, anybody outside the normal mix that you think needs to be given a little kudos before the game even starts?
Daquan Wright. I think Mississippi State is going to be so focused on stopping the first ever Doak Walker Award finalist that Ole Miss has ever had in Kewan Lacy.
Right. They've never had another.
They've never had one before. They're going to be so confident on that. They're going to RPO them to death. And the interior receivers like Caden Lee and Winnie Watkins and Daquan Wright, they're going to be able to take advantage of the middle of the field. I do believe. And that's where you're going to really unlock that defense. So Daquan Wright and Winnie Watkins.
For me, it's Patrick Kutis. He is healthy, isn't he?
He is.
I think that I know it's boring, but 2nd down and 6 never goes out of style.
Nope.
And if they can control the interior, he's a big offensive guard. He might be the most valuable guy in the game, and nobody's going to call his name. It's not going to happen. But he's
at least you better not. You better not call.
Yeah, if you're calling it a lot, that means it's holding and jumping off sides. So that's not good. Don't do that, Patrick. Let's avoid that. But that means that he's doing his job and making sure the quarterbacks are protected, and your running game is not just flourishing, but has a chance. I'll be surprised. Would you go over or under 200 rushing yards for the Rebels? I'm going to say over.
I'm going to say over as well, but with Lane, whenever you play somebody that is mismatched running the ball, sometimes the numbers aren't as high because they're going to RPO you to death because they know the defense is going to take advantage of that. So it could be something that Kewan Lacy rushes for $130 and 2 touchdowns, and Trinidad Chambliss is actually the weapon that unlocks their defense using the players out in the pass pattern. So we'll see how it looks. I'm curious to see what it looks like, really.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that the Bulldogs will bring a lot of guys into the box, 6 to 8 guys on every play. They're not going to play the light 5-man box because of Lacy. I don't think they'll play a lot of 6-man box because I think they'll bring a safety down late. They'll do some different things. As Saban likes to call rat in the hole, they'll bring a guy down, switch from cover 3 to cover 2, cover 2 to cover 3, and then just play some cover 0 and roll the dice. By the way, good luck with that with the receiving core that Wayne is established in Oxford, but this is the Egg Bowl. Whenever we think we figured it out, the exact opposite will transpire. I've been a part of that prediction more than once with the Egg Bowl, and I'm guessing you probably have as well. So that's
hey, I was in the stadium for the immaculate deflection where the wind blew back the field goal. So I've seen weird stuff happens. Have you ever seen that highlight?
What year was that?
1983. There was a 27-yard field goal attempted by Mississippi State. Mississippi State was down 24-23. Mississippi State had an all-conference kicker. It was going dead down the middle. It was true. There was a gust of wind that stopped the football and knocked it straight down. It was the game that God proved that he was an Ole Miss fan, not a Mississippi State fan.
There you go. Fair enough. I'm going to
look it up on YouTube. Look it up on YouTube. It's pretty weird.
That is pretty odd. That's got to be like a 50-mile-an-hour gust of wind. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go 31-20 Rebels. They're favored. Let me see here. I believe by like 7.5. Do you think that's too? I thought that was a little low. I'm not a gambler. Did you think that was a little low on the point spread? That's what FanDuel's got.
I do. It only dropped down that low because of all of the noise. It was a digit line. Ole Miss is probably favored by 11 or 12. Otherwise, I'm going with a low scoring game. One of the only props that you can almost always count on in this game is that the under is going to hit. So I'm going with 24-14. Ole Miss wins the game. They don't play their best, but they play good enough.
I'm sure you would sign up for that right now. So that's, that gets you to 11-1. Last question. I just thought about this. If Kiffin leaves, do you think the committee will penalize Ole Miss by dropping them a couple of spots? I think they will. I'm not saying I agree, but I think they will. What's your take on that?
They shouldn't, honestly. They shouldn't, because it isn't a similar thing to Jordan Travis and the 4-team playoff when that happened, because that affected the team that was on the field. Ole Miss retaining their offensive and defensive coordinator and everything around there, everything except a head coach. And you're going to replace that head coach with a former NFL head coach is going to be the interim. So the team should be all right one way or another, but I get the people asking questions of whether or not it's going to happen, but it should not happen, because the same people are going to be on the field doing what they have to do, going through practice, everything. They're not going to change the system in a week. Lane Kiffin didn't beat Oklahoma. Lane Kiffin didn't beat Florida. Lane Kiffin didn't beat the Citadel. It was the players on the field. And I have a hard time thinking a group of athletic directors are going to punish a group of kids because the adult did this. So that's something I come back to. I think the athletic directors are going to ask the question, if it comes down to it, and say, what if this was my school? And sanity is going to play out in the end.
It could be. I don't trust anything with humans, regardless, good or bad, because
me either.
So it is what it is.
Yeah, nobody's laughing at automatic qualifiers now.
No, they're not. Stephen, tell everybody where they can find your work, my friend.
Tune into the Locked On Ole Miss podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can hit me up on social. We have live streams periodically. We talk about all the rumors. We talk about all the fun. It's basically the whole business model, just so you know, is this is a place where you can have fun following Ole Miss sports. If you're interested in having fun, come hang out with us.
All right. I appreciate it, sir. You can find the Portal Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere you get your pods. This has been Locked On Ole Miss and the Portal.